What's going on, everybody? Woohoo! Welcome to the Watchtower podcast. Yeah, we're here. We're doing this. I'm excited. As you can tell, we've kind of got a upgrade on how it's running, how it's looking, and whatnot. So, yeah, I'm a little excited about that. Something that I had to quickly change programs because with my computer situation, I had to like try and find something that was easier to use on my computer, and then I ended up finding something that I'm actually able to play some videos and stuff. So be on the lookout as we continue to go further. I can now play videos and whatnot throughout the podcast, so we won't have to try and I won't have to try and explain some things. I can actually show them to you. So, but yeah. So with that new program, I've had to reset everything. Hopefully the video is okay. Hopefully the audio is okay. If something's not sounding right, if something's not sounding correct, let me know. I'll try and fix it on the fly. Otherwise, I'll just have to go back and kind of adjust as we progress. So, but as you can see, yeah, we've got a new opening intro for the podcast. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys liked it and all that. Something else that I'm able to do with this podcast is, let's see if I can get this to work correctly. I can make you guys a part of this show. Just like that. How's it going, Kim? Hi, hugs from California. Glad that you are here. Not of this world, checking in from South Texas. One Tuesday night, closer to going home. Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about it. I'm definitely ready to go home. Even with the excitement, as you can tell, I'm kind of like a giddy child right now. But even with the excitement, all this stuff, let's go. I'm ready to go home, Lord. Definitely ready to go. That's for sure. So we can see here, and then we've got Jazz Tastica here. Glad to see you, Jazz. Hope you're doing all right. Can I call you Jazz for short? Oh, I can do that. So glad that you guys are here, though. Glad that you can join me on this Tuesday. So sorry, I'm over here playing with all the new bits and bobs, and I'm losing track of where I'm at. So, anyways, but yeah, like I said, if there's any issues or anything on the feed, let me know. I'll try and fix them the best I can. So. But glad you guys can join me. If you're new here, what we do here, Wretched Watchmen, the Watchtower podcast, is we take a look at what is going on around the world through the lens of Bible prophecy. And we watch for the return of our Lord Jesus Christ. So this is what we do. And we do this every Tuesday. So I'm glad you guys can join us. She says, yes, that's my nick. Awesome. All right. I'm going to call you Jazz for short. There we go. Okay, so with this episode, this is episode 68, by the way, we're going to be doing a prophecy travel guide. Now, basically what we're going to do is, I don't know if any of you have ever been in a situation, I was just in this situation this past week, I'll talk about that in a second, where I was talking to somebody who is not a believer, who was kind of pointing in the direction of finding Jesus, and the best way that I know how to communicate with somebody on that is to start talking about what's going on with the end times and everything. But the thing is there's so much going on, and for somebody who doesn't really have a clue about anything that's going on, where do you start and how do you explain it? So it's a bit different than what we normally do for the podcast, but we're going to kind of take a trip through everything that's going on to hopefully, if you're ever in that situation, this will be able to help you out with that. So prophecy travel guide on that. So before we get started though, make sure you follow, subscribe, like, all that stuff. So because of what is going on with YouTube, they're getting more and more aggressive with locking us who speak truth in jail, YouTube jail. So there's a sense rolling around that they're probably going to just start eliminating channels altogether relatively soon. That seems to be the talk as far as all this goes. So if you if you have an account, make sure you follow me. I've got the links down in the description on Rumble and Odyssey, as well as, of course, my Telegram. So make sure you subscribe on there. If anything was to happen to the YouTube channel, I will be going over there to do it. I need 100 subscribers on Rumble in order to live stream there. But luckily with Odyssey, I believe I can live stream there with this new program. Either way, because of what is going on with the censorship with YouTube, make sure you subscribe over there. And then I've also got donation links there as well, if you feel led to donate to the ministry. And quick announcement before we go: I don't need these in. I don't know why I have them, so I'm just going to go ahead and take those out. And also one final note: tomorrow, noon Central, there's going to be a new episode, Bobblehead Adventures. So if you enjoy those little Bobblehead Adventure episodes, there's going to be a new one dropping tomorrow at noon. So keep an eye on that. So, okay. That's all I got with all that spiel. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So, like I said, I had the opportunity to witness to somebody, and basically the story is they were an atheist. So this isn't, unfortunately it wasn't in person, so I couldn't talk to them. But when I go through and I find the news and I'm reading what's going on and whatnot, I usually check out the comments just to see what people are putting there. And somebody posted a comment on, I don't remember what article it was, but somebody posted a comment talking about how they're an atheist, but they were feeling led to find God, even though they don't believe that God is real. So you could, I mean, right there as a Christian, you should be looking at that going, oh, he's tugging. Somebody planted a seed somewhere. There's been some water dropped on there, and the Lord's tugging. So obvious. I don't hardly ever comment on this stuff, but if I see that I mean, I have to. That's what we're here for. So I commented on there, and basically I was saying, well, if you can, take a look at what's going on with the end times, the prophetic events that were foretold in the scripture, and if you look at what is happening now, you will see that God is real, and you must go through Jesus to get saved. So obviously I'm not going to write a book in a reply, but hopefully I could strike up a conversation. And so I put it out there. I was like, just take a look at the events going on. Look at what's going on with scripture. I was hoping that he would maybe respond like, hey, what are you talking about? And then I can get going. But if he did, I'm sitting there going, wow, what do I even start on this? But the thing that I noticed, and I'm going to start it off with something a little, just roll with me. Every once in a while I get on these soapbox rants. Roll with me. But I put that comment on there, and then somebody replied to me. They didn't reply to the atheist guy. Somebody replied to me. And he's somebody who claims to be a Christian. He claims to be a Jesus follower. And he skipped over the atheist who says he was feeling led to find God. And he decided he was going to start arguing with me. He was going to start attacking to disprove my approach of that we're in the end times. So this man who says he's a Christian skipped over the guy seeking salvation, seeking Jesus, and decided it was worth more of his time to try and disprove my approach on trying to get Jesus to this guy. How many times have you guys seen this where it's just you get into what's supposed to be like a Christian message board or a Christian chat or comments on a Christian video, and I mean, I'll be honest, some of the most vile and aggressive comments I've ever seen are Christians attacking one another. Just being honest. And so this dude's mindset was, oh, well, I'm a Christian. He says he's a Christian. I'm going to skip over this guy and just go ahead and start disproving the person who's trying to share Jesus. I responded and I called him out on it. I had to kind of like, okay, calm down. Don't get aggressive. But I had to reply. I said, your line of thinking should be going after this guy, sharing Jesus with this person. But you would rather try and disprove and argue with somebody rather than worry about the soul of the guys there. And I said, your focus should be on sharing Jesus. I said, that should be your main goal. That's what we're called to do. He basically just brushed off my sharing Jesus comment. What did he say? Um, he said, sharing Jesus is great, but really? You're going to throw in a but there? Yeah, he said, sharing Jesus is great, but, and he said, my approach and my belief, and I said something about like past, because he was talking about end times, how everybody believes that they were in the end times all throughout history. And I said, well, past, past generations weren't really, I guess, studying it as they should, because there were certain things that needed to happen beforehand. And so he basically started attacking my belief of the past generations were not fully studied on the end times, and actually called my approach as disturbing. He said it was disturbing how I was doing it. I just don't see how that works that way. Where's your priority? Kind of moving away from that. Where is your priority when it comes to at least your online presence, your social media presence? Is your priority reaching out to those who don't know the Lord, and are you sharing Jesus with them? Or are you more interested in arguing with somebody, trying to disprove something, trying to have a debate with somebody on something that is a non-salvation issue? Like I said, the whole point was an atheist being tugged in the direction of God, and then a supposed Christian comes in and attacks the fact that I was trying to answer questions and get Jesus to him. And I'll be honest, the atheist guy never responded to anything. He probably looked at the comment and said, why would I want to be involved with that? That's how I look at it, is all the conversations of all these Christians attacking each other over non-salvation issues. Non-Christians look at that and go, why on earth would I ever want to be a part of that? You know how many people have been turned away because our mentality is to just be right? I mean, you can't do that. Let's see. Hold on. I got a bot in here. Oh man, well, it looks like we've made it to the big time, because we've got bots in here. Okay. Hopefully. Yeah. Yeah, not of this world. If you're in the chat, make sure you're watching to get those bots in case any of them come through again. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah. So, okay. But still, so the mentality here is our focus should be on sharing Jesus, getting Jesus to people by any means necessary, by absolutely any means necessary. People have talked, I've heard criticism about trying to scare people into heaven, scaring them with hell, scaring them with what's coming and stuff. I don't understand that tactic. If you have any chance of getting somebody to Jesus by any means necessary, even if that means scaring them out of hell into heaven, you do it. Especially right now where we're this close, we need to just do it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And so the fact of somebody found it disturbing that I was using the end times to share Jesus, don't ever let that cross your mind. Don't ever let that cross your mind. Do what you have to make sure that that person is saved. Make sure that they get to the Lord, especially right now. This crunch tower, this don't worry about being right. Especially if it's a non-salvation issue, don't worry about being right. Obviously, if somebody is messing up the gospel and whatnot, then yeah, you need to make sure you correct them on that. Lovingly and respectfully, of course. But if it's a non-salvation issue, don't worry about it. And yeah, if you have to scare somebody into heaven, do it. Do it. So, but I wanted to start off with that just because, first of all, I wanted to kind of put that out there for everybody on that. That was an experience that I was dealing with. I'll be honest, I'm not perfect. There's been times when I've commented on something just to try and correct something that was a non-salvation issue, and it got into an argumentative discussion, and that was my bad. That's my pride and my pride and arrogance bleeding out on that. But it's something that I'm working on, where it's like, if it's non-salvation, you don't worry about it, but just make sure that you're sharing Jesus, you're sharing the gospel with people and drag them over that finish line. Even if they are kicking and screaming, you drag them over that finish line. Seriously. And so with that, I wanted to take it in the direction of, because if the atheist person did comment, where on earth do I start with the prophecy stuff, the end times? Where on earth do I start with this? And the first things we need to start with is the fact of why I believe other generations didn't quite have the studying of end times down correctly, because there's some things that need to happen first before these events took place. So as far as the belief that we're in the end times right now, or as far as the belief that we're in the end times and the past generations in history never had all the correct signs, is one, the signs are all converging at the same time. But in order for all of the signs to converge at the same time and actually equal the end times that were foretold in Scripture, one thing must happen first. That is the rebirth of a nation, and that would be Israel. So, well, Jazz, thank you. Just got confirmation from Jesus. Awesome. Every podcast, I pray beforehand, and I try and I pray that the Lord speaks through me, to push me aside, to humble me, and just speak through me. So if that just happened, that is incredible. That is absolutely incredible. So the rebirth of the nation of Israel has to be the first key to all of this. So in order for everything to actually count, we must check that very important box. Even if everything was converging like it was back then, that means absolutely nothing, because the fulfillment of Isaiah 66:8 didn't happen. Isaiah 66:8 is, who has heard such a thing? Who has seen such things? Shall the earth be made to give birth in one day, or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion was in labor, she gave birth to her children. So, like I said, if that doesn't happen, it doesn't matter if it feels like the tribulation is right on the edge, that needed to happen first. Well, the rebirth of the nation of Israel officially came to be May 14th, 1948. So anything happening before 1948 doesn't mean anything, because this needed to happen first. But not only did it become a nation, but it became a nation in a 24-hour period, literally in a day, exactly how Isaiah 17 says, where it says, shall a nation be born at once, or shall the earth be made to give birth in one day, or shall a nation be born at once? So not only is the nation of Israel supposed to be reborn, but it also needs to happen within a day. And it did so in May 14th, 1948, because in a 24-hour period, three things happened. One, the Jews declared independence. Two, the UN issued a statement recognizing sovereignty to the nation of Israel. And three, a UN mandate ended British control of the land. All three of those things happened within a 24-hour period, and Israel became a nation literally in one day, exactly how Isaiah 66:8 said it would happen. And as we know, the end times, the Jacob's trouble, the Great Tribulation, that is all for the Jews. That is all for Israel. It is based on them. That defeats the whole argument that the church has replaced Israel. That's fallacy. It's false. It's not true. And so this must happen. This must happen first, which it just did, and then that is a trigger where now we can start watching and waiting to see what happens with these end times. So now that that happened, there's other ones that happened, but that's the main one. So that's like, that kind of defeats the argument of people who say, well, World War I, there was all this sickness and war and poverty and everything happened. Well, that's great, but Israel wasn't a nation back in World War I. So we have to wait for that to happen. So that defeats that argument. That opens the door, unlocks the door for everything. Some of the other things now that we're seeing, the signs of where we're at. The third temple. The third temple is extremely important. Extremely important. This is, I mean, of course, they're going to rebuild it. That's when the Antichrist is going to come in. He's going to declare himself, or the Antichrist is going to come in, declare himself to be God, the abomination of desolation, everything like that. So the third temple is extremely important. So we watch everything that's going to be happening with that. Some of the things that that have happened that we've been watching and paying attention to. The architects have basically, they spent years designing this thing exactly how it's supposed to be. They said it's about ready to go. I can't remember the name of the group, the organization, a part of it, but they're the ones that have been hunting down the correct furniture and the correct fixtures and everything to go throughout the third temple. They've got pretty much all of that stuff ready to go. And then we've also seen with the third temple some events that have just recently, and they're stacking up, happening. One, there was the shearing of the sheep for Shavuot, or Shavut. I can't speak French, I'm sorry. The shearing of the sheep of Shavuot, that just happened, or Shavuot, that just happened. Lately, I mean, just in the past couple weeks, we've got the red heifers that are going in, which, by the way, they're not quite heifers yet. Give them a year, they will be. Something to keep in mind. Give them a year, and those cows that they brought in, the heifers that they brought in, will be ready to go for the cleansing, the purification of the temple. Then just in 1 week, last week, we had the water libation that happened, and the temple service music rehearsal also took place as well. So all of that stuff's going on. These are signs that the Jews are sensing. They're believing that the temple is going to be built very, very soon. And so they're getting everything together. They're practicing and rehearsing what they need to do. They're getting their traditions ready. That's a big sign. Obviously, they believe that third temple is going to be built really, really soon. Then you look at the train system that they're going to be putting in from the Ben Gurion airport that's going to take them straight to the temple. That's also going there. Not to mention that they've spent many, many years training Levites to be priests at this temple as well. So all of that stuff is happening, which is pointing in the direction of this third temple getting built. Don't let anybody devalue what is going on with the temple and the Jewish traditions that are going around it. Don't let anybody devalue this. These things are very important because it's pointing towards the fact that the temple is getting closer to being built. So it's very important that we focus on that. So that's what's going on with that. Looks like we got somebody in here. Dance teacher. Don't recognize that. Oh, it's Ray. What's going on, Ray? Hello, it's me, Ray. Looks like the grandkids hijacked my YouTube name. How's it going, Ray? Hopefully you're having a good night tonight, man. Glad you're here. Glad you could join us. Those pesky kids. So that's what's going on with the third temple. Another sign of where we're at that we need to be aware of and pay attention. The mystery man. The mystery man, the Antichrist, or for the Jews, it would be the false Messiah. Mystery man, a couple things that are that have happened recently that we know of that kind of point towards the direction of he's here. The Antichrist is on the scene. He just hasn't been revealed yet. He won't be revealed until after the rapture of the church, because we're supposed to be looking for Jesus, not looking for the Antichrist. So always remember that. We can do our little fun games of speculation and stuff like that, but I don't think it's going to be anybody that we're going to know. It's somebody behind the scenes, hidden. So I don't think as Christians we're going to know. And we're also looking for Jesus. We're not looking for the Antichrist. But that doesn't mean that when he's possibly spoken of or hinted at, that doesn't mean we don't pay attention. We know about Prince Charles's speech, who's now King Charles. He'll always be Prince Charles, just, you know what I mean? Back at COP 26, where he was talking about a certain man where he will have more money than the global GDP and governments combined and everything, and he will be in control and all that stuff. He made a very specific reference to one individual person. And then also something that we've noticed is there's been a couple of ultra-Orthodox Jewish rabbis they claim to be in communication with the Messiah. Now, remember, they're looking for a false Messiah. So they may be looking at this or talking to this person and they may believe that it's their Messiah, but it could either be just a man claiming that, or it could be the Antichrist himself. Either way, we've got two rabbis now. Two rabbis. One was in communication for several years. He just recently died this year, but it sounds like that connection has been passed off to another rabbi who is now in communication with this guy as well. So we've got the Jewish rabbis, ultra-Orthodox, high-ranking rabbis who believe that they're talking to the Messiah, who it would be the false Messiah. And then Prince Charles made reference to him as well. So there's been a couple of instances where this mystery man, Mr. Antichrist, has been referenced. And so that's definitely something that we need to be paying attention to. Remember, we're not looking for the Antichrist, but when that stuff happens, we go with that. Now, if we move on to the next one, lawlessness. Oh boy. There's been a whole heaping load of that. There is tons of lawlessness. If you take a look at Matthew 24, chapter 24, verse 12, makes reference to lawlessness. There's a bunch of verses about it. I just picked this one out just because. And it says, and because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. Remember, the Antichrist he's the son of perdition. He is the lawless one. He's going to bring lawlessness with him. And now that we're seeing not only lawlessness now, but growing global lawlessness that's pointing in the direction that not only is the Antichrist here, but it's also the fact of more signs of these end times. Lawlessness, let's just go through some of the stuff that has happened recently so you can kind of piece it all together. There was the BLM riots, the Black Lives Matter riots that were taking place. That wasn't just a U.S. thing. Most of the damage was in the U.S., but that did happen in other parts of the world as well. There's the BLM riots that were going on. There was the fact of crimes without punishment is now taking place, where they're making it so if you don't, like in New York or California or both, I can't remember exactly where, if you don't steal over a certain amount of money, then you can't be punished for it and whatnot. So people are just going in and stealing just enough so they don't get in trouble for these. So they're allowing lawlessness to happen. They're creating new laws to create lawlessness, which is just, I mean, that's like lawlessness inception, if you catch that reference. So we've got all of that going on. There is the fact of murder, theft, and assault crimes are breaking records. Now, I mean, we are smashing through records. Unheard of numbers for murder and theft and assault. And then if you add in abortion on that, the murder just jumps. I mean, it's historical. It's biblical. Really no other way to put it. There's the Illinois purge law that we talked about, where it's just going to be complete anarchy going on over there. Then there's governments just ruling without law, pretty much. They're dismissing any rule of law. They're dismissing any constitution, anything globally, not just in the United States, but globally. They're just doing whatever they want to push along whatever they want. That counts for the lawlessness as well. Even the governments themselves are being lawless. They're becoming lawless. There's more out there, but that's just I mean, like I said, we're just taking a quick little jaunt. So if you need to try and connect this with somebody, this is how you do it. Lawlessness is everywhere, and it's coming exactly like Scripture told us. Lawlessness abounds, and the lawless one is going to bring it with him. and that is happening. Then, kind of going along with that, because now it's just becoming a tag team thing. We've got Pride and Perversion taking over. I'll be honest, this is more of a US thing, but there's certain aspects that are branching out everywhere else. But Pride and Perversion, that's the alphabet agenda push. We're seeing that more and more where they're trying to push it and indoctrinate people with it. The big one is what Disney is doing with all of their movies that they're now putting in gay characters. You're seeing all this stuff out there in all these different movies about we're going to make these characters gay. Some of the guys that I follow for like the pop culture news, because I try and stay up to date on that stuff too. They're talking about like comic books now. They're making everybody gay. They're making Superman gay. They're making Spider-Man gay. They're making Batman gay. They're making all of these comic book characters gay. They're throwing this alphabet stuff out there in everything. What was it? There was one that they're putting out now where it's supposed to be a female or trans Spider-Man who's also a cripple, and they're trying to push the diversity and inclusion and all that stuff. They're pushing all that through. Yeah, not of this world. Exactly. Pride becomes before destruction, and we're seeing a whole lot of that coming through right now. And so we've got the alphabet push. Like I said, there's the transgender stuff that is happening where I believe not everybody, but I believe the people who are leading the charge in this it's possession. I believe Legion is back. We are I am Legion. We are many. When you have a conversation with some of these transgender people who are changing all of their pronouns and stuff, where they don't know who they are and whatnot. If you talk to them, I mean, some of them have had interviews where they're talking about like they're just a meat car. They're not in control of their body. It's like somebody else is in control of their body, and they're just along for the ride and whatnot. I believe this pronoun transgender gender bending stuff, I believe, like I said, not everybody, but I believe a lot of people who are leading the charge and pushing this through are indeed possessed. I believe Legion is back when it comes to this type of stuff. Then we've got the pedophilia coming through. We've got the pedophilia stuff coming through. There was the Netflix movie Cuties. I just talked about another movie where it's Trouble with Being Born, which is about a 10-year-old, or it's an android robot who looks, thinks, and acts like a 10-year-old girl. And there's a man who has a relationship, if you catch my drift, with this android. And the movie itself even shows CGI nudity on this girl, this 10-year-old. It's sick and twisted. It's being pushed out there. The movie won awards. Like I said, with the cutie stuff, there's other stuff out there as well, and it's pushing this through. This is, I don't know if you remember, but there was the San Francisco gay choir. They even made a song that was about, oh, we're going to get your kids. We're coming after your kids type thing. This is what's going on. They're pushing this through. And then now we've got bestiality. They're trying to normalize bestiality with this stuff now. There's marches in Germany and in Australia where they're trying to legalize sleeping with their pets. I'm serious. I think there's like 11 or 12 countries out there that actually have legalized bestiality. They're trying to get people are trying to get Germany and Australia to do the same thing as well. This is getting pushed out there. All of this stuff is happening. And then you're even seeing it, and I don't think people have even put this connection together, but I was watching a podcast recently, and they were talking about this. It was a sports podcast, and they even brought this up, and they were talking about it. But if you look at what's going on in sports, and I'm not talking about what people know about, like Colin Kaepernick's kneeling and the whole racism stuff and everything being pushed on like NFL and what. I'm not even talking about that. But if you look at sports, they have made simple adjustments to rules, which is demasculate is that's not even a word. You know what I'm talking about. But they're taking away the masculine, the warrior side of sports in the name of safety. You look at the NFL, and people can't get hit like they used to. They can't do certain things like they used to. You look at what's going on in hockey. It used to be you would go to a hockey game for a boxing match, and a hockey game broke out type of thing. But they've gotten rid of the fighting in hockey. You look at even something like baseball. You used to be able to truck over the catcher when you're going home, going into home plate. You can't do that anymore. They made a rule where you can't even block home plate anymore. You can't have contact or anything. A lot of these people don't realize that is, there's no other way to put it. It's wussifying men. It's reducing men. It's feminizing men. It's taking away the warrior, the gladiator, the masculine side, and you're training up kids who watch these sports, and they're losing that edge that makes them men. And I know there's going to be some people, oh, well, it's for their safety, it's for their health and stuff. Well, when you get into professional sports, you know what you're getting into, and you're getting paid for it. If you don't want to get hit, if you don't want to get hurt, find something else to do. I'm surprised they haven't gone after boxing yet, just to be honest. But that actually is a part of this movement to reduce men and feminizing everything together. And that's part of it. And it really is part of it. So the wussification of sports is playing into this gender bending type of thing. So that is there as well. Now, another aspect, moving on into it, is the Laodicean church. Now, this one is huge. I could go on for hours about this. Not going to, but I could. But you look at the Laodicean church. Not going to read it, but you can check it out. Revelation 3:14 through 22. You can check it out there. It's the lukewarm church. That's the Laodicean church. This bleeds in with the pride stuff because now we've got gender neutral leaders. If you ever take a look at the worship leaders on stage, both men and women, sometimes you can't tell. You see men who look feminine with their skinny jeans, their tight clothes, their shirts that look like women's blouses, how they do their hair. You're feminizing the men. These are people leading worship in church. Then you look at the women. I've seen a lot of women that look quite butch when they're on stage, where they're starting to look masculine. They're even gender bending, and they're making gender neutral leaders in church. Something to think about there. The Laodicean church, it's all about focus on self. It's about experience seeking. That's why you look at people like Joel Osteen, T.D. Jakes, Copeland, Sid Roth. I could go on and on and on about it, but you look at these guys, Todd White, you look at these guys, and it's all about what can I get? Live my best life now. What's the best way for me to live a good life, and how to do this stuff? It's the focus on self. It's about finding experience. The prosperity gospel is big on that. Church has now become a giant social club. They're pushing the woke agenda, the social agenda. The moment that you allow that stuff into the church, it's game over. Satan's in there. He's got a hold on you like you wouldn't believe. That's why you look at some of these churches. Hillsong, I called Hillsong out on it because on their website they even had an entire page dedicated to inclusion and equity and all this stuff about how they're going to be training their leaders at their churches into the social justice stuff. You look at Hillsong, Bethel, and Elevation. They lead the charge with this Laodicean church. It's all about self. It's all about just what can I get out of it. There's a lot of churches out there that I can't just name off the top of my head, but they are there. The Laodicean church, it's a lukewarm church. They've kicked Jesus out. And it's all about self, and that's how that's going. Ray says Beto. I think Beto. I always call him Beta. He's Beta. Beto O'Rourke was at TD Jakes. Are you serious? That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, if I was more prepared, I could throw up a picture. But yeah, Beto actually posted a picture of himself where he was wearing a shirt that says. Something, it was about protecting the trans kids. He actually took a picture of himself in that shirt protecting the trans kids. So going with somebody like T.D. Jakes, that doesn't surprise me at all. Doesn't surprise me at all. But this is the Laodicean church. Self-seeking, selfish. It's about me. It's about me. What can I get out of it? What can I experience? Gender-neutral leaders, the woke, social justice, social club, prosperity type of thing. That's that. But if you want to get deeper into it, then we've got mystery religion and the one world of religion. This is one of the three pillars of the Antichrist beast system, is the one world religion. This is mystery religion. If you want to check it out, one world religion is mentioned in Revelation 13, 3 through 4. That's where it tells us about this. But mystery religion, which becomes the one world religion, starts from the Tower of Babel. That's with Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. I break all of that down. I'm not going to do it now. I break it all down. If you go, I have a playlist on my channel about the one world religion. There's two parts to it. You can check it out. I break all of it down, but it starts with the Tower of Babel. Semiramis is mystery. She is mystery, the whore of Babylon that's talked about in Revelation. She's the seductress, because it's always talking about how mystery religion, the one world religion, is going to seduce people, and that's why she leads the charge with that. So that is mystery religion, one world religion going in there. Again, you start looking at stuff like the productions of Hillsong. If you look at some of their Christmas specials that they've put out, they've got the whole get up. They put somebody out with wings and the moon behind her. I mean, it's full on worship of Semiramis from the Tower of Babel days and whatnot. So you look at that. You also see things like we talked about the Commonwealth Games that just happened this last week, that was headed up and produced and led by Prince Charles. That had the worship of Nimrod with the bull, along with Semiramis on top of it. The Tower of Babel, I've got a video on that. You can check it out as well. But that's a part of the mystery religion, the one world religion. The leader of this would be the Catholic Church. Universalism. Unity. I always talk about the red flag whenever somebody's talking about unity, unifying, bringing the religions together. Blending of beliefs. That's that belief of, all religions get to God. We talked about it. I can't remember the exact percentage, but a ridiculous amount of people who claim to be Christians believe that you can get to God through other religions. That's not how it works, but that is the teaching, the belief of universalism and unity, and the blending of beliefs and whatnot. I've talked about some of this before. You look at Pope Francis, he's preaching the unity stuff. I've always talked and warned about Billy Graham. He was big on that. He did the universalism stuff. We can get to, he believed that we can get to God through different ways. After he would do some of his revival stuff back in the day, he used to send them to his buddy's Satanist church. So, that stuff is all there. You look at things like the show The Chosen, which that's now becoming a talking point again, because they're just putting out their season 3 trailer. That actually they were doing a live event right before I started this podcast, actually. You look at The Chosen. I've done a video breakdown on that, but basically, to put it, you've got the director of The Chosen who doesn't believe that there's a difference between the Jesus of the Bible and the Jesus of the Book of Mormon. You look at the fact that the production company and a lot of the people involved with writing the show are from the Latter-day Saints Church. And then you look at the fact that Jesus is actually played by a Catholic on the show. That is part of the unification of things. That is part of the universalism. That's part of the one world religion. So things like that is going on. And then, of course, you've got the adoption of not only false but satanic practices. Like I said, I talk about them, Hillsong, Bethel, and Elevation. Those churches and other churches like them, they practice things like Babel tongue, which is false tongues. They teach that you can learn to speak in tongues, that you don't need an interpreter, which the Bible tells us that, one, you can't learn tongues, it's given to you. And then there's also going to be an interpreter of somebody else that will always be there with you. So they're teaching false doctrine right there. I call it Babel tongue, which Tower of Babel, Babel tongue, kind of all plays into that as well. A lot of them practice necromancy, where they're trying to raise the dead. Fortune telling, they say that you can. They try and teach people that you can prophesy. They're teaching them to be fortune tellers, basically. Astral projection and out of body experiences. They practice that stuff. Spirit possession and fire tunnels. You can just check out some of the videos about people being in Bethel and they're rolling around screaming. It sounds like the gnawing and gnashing of teeth, like the scripture tells us hell is going to be. If you listen to it, it sounds exactly like that. That all that stuff's happening in churches, and they claim it's biblical when it is not. It's not even close. None of that stuff. I mean, like I said, they're teaching exact opposite of what scripture says with the tongue stuff, but not only that, but like spirit possession, when you see people rolling around screaming and stuff like that, that's not the Spirit of God, because the Spirit of God is calm, it's kind, it's gentle. Where's the calm, kind, and gentleness happening there? It's not there. None of that stuff is of God. Not even close. So just go ahead and get rid of all of that. Then you look at other parts like the one world religion. There's the Abrahamic family house that's supposed to be opening up here very, very soon. I believe in the next month it's supposed to be opening up. And then you look at the fact of the officials who are part of the building, the planning of the third temple are now saying it's going to be the house of prayer for all nations. They're fully preparing for that third temple to be basically the one world religion temple. This is all happening now. This is all happening right in front of us. It's absolutely crazy. Oh, yeah. I just talked about it. The three religious structures, that's the Abrahamic family house. That's going to have a mosque, a church, and a synagogue all right there. It's supposed to bring and unify those religions together. So that is the Abrahamic family house right there. Oops. Yep. Next month, it's supposed to be in November. That is correct. Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. So that's what's going on with one world religion, mystery religion. It's there. It's fully there. It's getting pushed. It's crazy. Then another aspect, we look at Ezekiel, the Ezekiel 38 coalition, the Gog-Magog war that's being built right now. There is a lot of detail and stuff. We've talked about this week after week after week. I'm not going to go into all of it, but just simple breakdown. You look at Russia, Iran, and Turkey. They are building their relationships politically, financially, and militarily. They're doing all that stuff. Then you look at Sudan leadership, who is heavily involved with Russia, and Sudan is a part of that coalition, and they're involved with Russia. Then you look at the Libya leadership. Libya is also a part of that coalition, and they are heavily together with Turkey. So you look at Russia, Iran, Turkey, Sudan, and Libya, the five main players. There's other ones involved, all the stands and whatnot. But if you look at those, they're all coming together and forming a coalition together. The big hook on this, because it's going to be a hook that draws it in, there's going to be different aspects. There's land, there's water, there's gold, all this stuff. But gas is going to be one of the major hooks to draw in the coalition army to invade Israel. That's one of the main focal points. You look at Israel's Karish gas deal that's happening. You look at the Dead Sea with all the stuff in there. You look at the fact that Turkey and Russia are now just putting together a deal where Turkey is going to be a Russian gas hub. They're going to run Russian gas into Turkey, and then Turkey's going to start distributing it out. So you look at that. Then you look at the fact of the Turkey-Libya gas deal that just took place, where it's invading into Greece's economic zone and all of that. Gas is going to be a major part of it. Like I said, though, there's going to be gold and whatnot. But all of these countries that are going to form together to invade Israel are all being drawn in with the same spoils that it talks about. And they're going to come into Israel. But God is going to then intervene. He's going to show himself, and he's going to basically say, I am God, and he's going to protect Israel. So all of that is happening. Other aspects, like I said, militarily, Iran is now, I mean, it's everywhere now. It's supplying Russia with weapons and drones and all of that as well. So that is all getting pushed through as well. So that's what's going on with the Ezekiel 38 Gog-Magog stuff. Again, I'm not going to get in depth because we talk about that almost every week because there's always new information coming out about it. Now, another aspect is we've got the one world government. This is another pillar of the Antichrist three-pillar beast system. The one world government, you can check it out. Revelation 13, 7 through 8 tells us about this. Basically, in order to bring in the one world government, just like everything else, you have to destroy what is already there. You have to collapse what is already there. So right now, we've got complete chaos and weakness in every government out there right now. I just made a comment a couple days ago. The only leaders, the only governments out there in the world right now that are strong and have a hold on their countries is China, Russia, North Korea, and Turkey. Everywhere else, there is chaos and weakness in all of the governments, including Israel. But China, Russia, North Korea, and Turkey, four very bad countries. They have strong leaders and strong government. It's crazy how that happens. But you look everywhere else. You look at what's going on in Europe with the fact that they just got rid of WEF boy Boris Johnson and brought in WEF girl Liz Truss, who only lasted 45 days, and then she resigned, and then just brought in WEF boy Sunak, who's Indian, who is an ex-Goldman Sachs banker. He was a part of Goldman Sachs and heavily involved with the World Economic Forum and one of the main pushers for central bank digital currency. I have the video of that on my computer. I don't have it loaded up. I would totally play that for you, but I just don't have it available at the moment. But all that, you look, I mean, it's just in chaos over there. Then you look at all the different governments in Italy. They're switching out their leadership, and they're getting weak leadership over there. Then you look at what's happening with the United States. We've got somebody with dementia that is sitting in the seat, but we know he's not in control of anything. You look at what's going on with Hungary. You've got Orban, who says he's for the right side, but then he's teaming up with Russia, but yet he's still pushing WEF agenda stuff. It's chaos, it's weakness, and it's everywhere. You have to destroy what's in place in order to rebuild, and that's going to be the one world government. So that is all going on. Then also a part of the one world government, we've got the giant global entities. You've got the WEF, World Economic Forum, you've got the UN, you've got the EU, you've got the WHO, the WHO, the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and then you've got the World Bank. There's other ones out there, but those are the main ones, really, that are running everything. They are running everything. Something I want to clarify this on, though, because we always talk about the WEF, the World Economic Forum. Everybody talks about Klaus Schwab. Everybody talks about Noah Yuval Harari. They talk about all these people. I just want to let you know that those are the faces they want you to see. Just like our governments with our politicians now, those are the faces they want you to see. Those are the faces they want you getting mad at. I'm telling you, just like the Antichrist, who he's behind the scenes doing what he's doing, the people in control of the WEF, the UN, the EU, the WHO, the IMF, the World Bank, all these people, the people actually controlling it, you have no idea who they are. I was reading this one thing, and it was a great comment. Somebody said, the faces that you see that get referenced all the time aren't the players. They're just the pawns. You can't see who is actually playing those pawns. We know who's going to be playing all of them, but right now, there's people controlling all of these, including people like Klaus Schwab and whatnot. People have no idea who's in control of all this stuff. I'm telling you. This goes much deeper than and yeah, you can say it, I'm on drugs, just throwing conspiracy theory out there, which, by the way, CIA created that term to make people not believe JFK was assassinated for reasons. Anyways, but that's a fact. So yeah, I mean they've got some say in this stuff, but they're the pawns. Even the big guys, the big names that we think are in control of all this stuff, they're just the pawns and all this. But remember, we know who the big player is, who's going to be controlling all of this, the one world government and all that. And of course, all of those entities, they're bringing in the Agenda 2030, climate agenda, the global health mandates. Like when you look at what happened with COVID, all of a sudden the entire world just jumped onto the same bandwagon and they all started doing the exact same thing. You don't think that that was orchestrated in any way. Then you look at the Great Reset, the young global leaders, your young global leaders, people like Putin is a part of that. Elon Musk was a part of that. Ivanka Trump was a part of that. All the government political faces that you dislike, Trudeau and Sunak and all those guys, those are all part of the young global leaders and everything. They're in control of all this stuff. They're in control of all this stuff. And like I said, this is a part of the days of deception. I talk about this all the time. I warn about it all the time. Do not get wrapped up in believing that political figures will fix or change anything. You can't do that. You can't get wrapped up in that. Like I said, look at what just happened in the UK. Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, and now Sunak. Sunak wasn't even voted for. He just took the position. All three of them WEF people. And they weren't even voted in. That is everywhere. That is happening in every government out there. And it's part of the deception. It's believing that you have a voice in it. It's the illusion of choice. There is none. This is what is happening. I mean, like I said, there's videos out there you can find it. Klaus Schwab, where he says, we've got government people in every government out there. He's admitted it on screens. Can't think of the word. He's admitted it though on video. That's the word I was looking for. It's the days of deception on that stuff. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Hey, look who it is. How's it going, Sally? Glad you are here. Yes, better late than never. Glad to see you. I had to jump out. I saw you at on Tom's stream earlier. Tom Hughes' stream earlier. I had to jump out and head to work, unfortunately, but yeah, it's always good. Always good to see you. Glad you are here. So that's what's going on with one world government on that. We're almost done. Almost done, guys. Another aspect of this, remember, I'm going through all of these things like this. For us, it's a good reminder of, oh, wow, there's a lot of stuff converging at the same time. But also at the same time, hopefully just these basic talking points will be enough where if you are in a situation where you're trying to witness to somebody and you want to use the end times avenue, but they don't really know what's going on, they don't have an idea. Hopefully these very easy, simple talking points can help you just get through of how incredibly huge all of this stuff is happening. So keep that in mind. Now, the next stop on our prophecy tour is going to be the digitalizing of humans and transhumanism. This is stuff like your digital IDs and your passports and stuff that they've been pushing. This is the Internet of Things, one of my favorite subjects to talk about. If you haven't figured it out, I absolutely love talking about it because it's so huge and in depth. It's crazy. But that's your Internet of Things. That is the connection of human to machine, to tracking, to spying, to controlling your entire life. The fact of they know more about you than you know about yourself. That's a part of the Internet of Things. Then you've got your chip implants, and like I said, your vax passports and all that stuff. There's more and more reports. I just saw a video today, actually, of somebody who had his bank chip implanted in his hand, and he literally just was at a gas station buying something, and he just set his hand on the machine, and it paid for the thing. It's happening. They're going to do it through convenience. They're conditioning people through convenience, killing through convenience. I've always talked about that. They make it easy. If you haven't noticed, people in the world have gotten lazy, super lazy. And so if they can kill you with convenience, if they can condition you with convenience, they're going to do that. And so they're getting these people ready. I mean, we even saw it. I talked about it where there was when it was the Vax passports. People were getting their passport um, code tattooed on them, so they didn't have to carry their phone app with them. They could just get their skin scanned. It's they're getting people prepared, so it's a part of the digitalizing, the transhuman, getting people ready for the ultimate mark, and the in the end. And then as far as transhumanism, we were just talking about the de-aging development that they're doing. There's all these companies out there trying to reduce aging, rewrite humans to basically defeat death, to get rid of death, make people immortal. All of that's going on. Then there's reports of the cryogenics that are coming out. I should probably just do a whole thing on that later. But there's the cryogenic stuff that's coming out where one company has 199 legally dead people and 100 pets that are cryogenically frozen. Now, they say they're not biologically dead. These people aren't dead, but they're legally dead. People like I think one of the stories was it was like a 3-year-old who was dying of brain cancer, and they ended up cryogenically freezing them. So they're going to bring them back later when they have the technology to fix the ailments that are a part of their bodies. That's right. They're now cryogenically freezing these people. Then, of course, there's good old Noah Harari, Yuval Harari, who's pushing. I mean, he is pushing the conditioning of AI, or the combining of AI and human together. He's talking about how data is going to be the future currency. Talking about all that stuff. They are pushing all of this stuff, and it's all going to bleed in with the social credit score system, the digital ID system, the mark of the beast later. It's all going to be a part of that. Now, the mark of the beast, the digital IDs, the social credit system, that's all going to be a part of the one world economy. The one world economy, if you want to check it out, Revelation 13, 16 through 17. It tells us that there's going to be a one world economy out there. Now, just like the governments, in order to build the new system that they want in place, you have to demolish what's already there. So if we look at what's happening around the world right now, we've got collapsing financial systems everywhere. Everywhere. It is struggling, to say the least. Now, this is something that I talk about a lot, because it's really prevalent. But just a couple of things. One, you look at the collapsing financial systems, the devaluing of the fiat currencies going on out there. One of the questions I see all the time pop up is, why is it that the dollar continues to get stronger and go higher? Shouldn't that be going down? No, because they are weaponizing the US dollar right now. Because the higher the US dollar goes, the stronger it gets, the less value all the other currencies are happening. So if you look at the pound, it's becoming garbage. You look at the yen, it's becoming garbage. You look at the yuan, it's becoming garbage. All these other things are going lower as the dollar gets stronger. And then once that happens, when you're ready to pull the plug, you can just cut off the dollar, let it fall, and everything will fall with it. Then you also look at other systems out there that's creating like a Eurasia group like BRICS, where you've got Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. You look at them. Then in the next meeting, they're going to bring in Saudi Arabia. They're going to bring in Turkey. They're going to bring in Iran. They're going to bring in all these countries. A lot of them are the Ezekiel 38 coalition countries. There's going to be other ones as well. That's also going to be playing a part in the fact of destroying the dollar when that time comes for it. It's all a part of what is happening. Also, another question, just because I want to make sure I answer this question that I see, is why the markets continue to go up like they are. You're noticing that there's a drastic difference now of the up and downs. It never used to go up and down as large as it is. But you have to remember, as liquidity dries up, physical cash dries up, the more those markets are going to move. So when you see giant up or down days, it doesn't matter. That is a part of the fact that the liquidity is drying up, which is going to feed into the collapse of everything as well. So that's what's going on with that. So this is a part of the collapsing global financial system out there, the devaluing of the fiat currency, the weaponization of the US dollar. Ultimately, that is going to be used to bring in the central bank digital currency. This is going to be happening global. There's countries out there that are not only testing it, but they are announcing that they are going to be issuing it out in next year. I think there's like 7 countries that have announced that they're going to do it. More of them are testing. It's going to happen. They're pushing all this stuff through. As we know in the U.S., there's already an executive order for that to be ready to go as well. So they're going to replace physical money with this central bank digital currency that allows them to control what you can buy. They can take your money. They can issue the money. They're going to have full control. And it's going to be a part of your social credit score. It's going to be a part of your digital ID, your digital wallet. It's going to be a part of the mark, as we know, but it's also going to be a part, what I'm strongly in the direction of believing. I wouldn't say, because there's so much changing and so much information we don't know. I can't definitively sit here and say this is what it's going to be. But my direction of thinking right now is that the carbon credit system is going to be the one world currency. Because that, even if you have an entire world that has different currencies like it has now, if you put an outer layer that bubbles everything together like a carbon credit emissions system, that will feed your one world economy right then and there. So my direction of thinking is going that way. Now, again, I'm not saying for sure that that's what's going to happen, but if you look into it, and I've done a lot of videos on it, it's really pushing that way, and it's connecting your digital finances and their climate agenda together. It's connecting everything together. You look at the fact of now Australia's Commonwealth Bank just announced that they are now going to start putting carbon credits connected to people's finances who bank there. That's right. They are now actively issuing this out, where it'll give you warnings where if you spend a certain amount of money, it'll actually send you a notification of things like, oh, well, you just bought this. That means you just like cut down 8 trees. It values it out, where it's like, okay, say I went and I bought $100 worth of groceries. It'll then send me a notification saying those $100 worth of groceries equals the value of cutting down 8 trees. So not only are they doing that, but then they're also issuing it so if you reach your emissions level, they can just cut you off. I've talked about this before, the economy card, the MasterCard card, they're putting all this stuff together. I've talked about the restaurants in Ireland, where now if you look on the prices, the price listing, it shows carbon credits on there as well. They're getting this ready. They're pushing this stuff ready. They're linking your transactions to your carbon footprint. It's huge. I'm going to continue to talk about this all the time. If you're sick of me talking about it, I don't care. This is something that I do not believe people are talking enough about, because I believe that this is leading the charge for the one world economy. It's too perfect. It's too perfect. It fits too perfectly. So that's all a part of what's going on with the one world economy. And then just finishing this off with a couple of last things. We've got the total collapse of global supplies. This is one that we're talking about. That's your energy stuff, what's going on in Europe, the total collapse of energy in Europe. There's reports of like 2 million UK citizens that are behind on their energy bills. You've got almost every day dozens of businesses shutting down because they can't afford the energy bills that are going with it. You've got all that going on. The total collapse of food, fertilizers, and farming. You look at what happened in the Netherlands, what's happening in Canada, what's happening in Ireland. You look at all that stuff that's happening. The sanction bans for fertilizer with Russia, Turkey blocking those, all that stuff. It's all about carbon and climate, putting it all together. That's part of the food collapse. It's part of the fertilizers, the collapse of farming. They're getting rid of farmings. There's stuff in the U.S. where they're actually paying farmers not to plant, not to grow. There's also the fact of weather involved with that, with the drought and the fires, that's making it so the land can't be used to plant and do food and everything. What we thought was going to hit this winter as far as food, it sounds like it's going to be hitting early next year where this famine is going to be coming in as far as food. But that's the total collapse happening there. We've got the total collapse of supply chains and production happening. What I'm talking about is like the China shutdowns of their production plants that they're doing. Like I said, the sanctions that are happening. You've got the OPEC oil stuff where Saudi Arabia is basically giving the finger to the U.S. and they're teaming up with Russia and Iran with what they're doing over there. You look at the demolition of European production, all your metals, your silver, your zinc, your iron, your steel, all of that stuff is all just, I mean, they're shutting down at record numbers because they can't afford the energy costs to keep those going. That's also a part of the food production that's happening there. I mean, we've talked about all the food fires that have been happening globally with all the production plants, random fires coming out of nowhere. And then another one that people aren't talking about is the European BASF chemical shutdowns. That's like your AdBlue and whatnot, which bleeds into trucking. In Europe, if you don't have AdBlue, you can't run your truck. Well, now they're having a shortage of AdBlue. So BASF chemical plants has to shut down because of the energy stuff. Energy is the battery to keep everything going. If you don't have energy in that battery, everything's going to shut down. That's happening everywhere. It's total global collapse of supply. Then you've got it where you've got container imports have completely halted, not completely, I exaggerated, I apologize, but container imports are shrinking significantly into the United States because retailers are overstocked. Now, this is a 1-2 punch of a bullwhip economy and bad finances in the U.S. This is the fact of nobody's buying stuff. Nobody's buying useless stuff. And so the stores are overstocked. What should be peak season right now, because Christmas is coming, is it's now collapsing all of this stuff. Then you look at the fact of, like I said, it involves finances, total collapse of global supply. That includes finances as well. We just got report that the U.S. credit card debt has hit $930 billion this year. U.S. credit card debt, $930 billion. It's an all-time high, and it's not even close. It is shattered the record. People are charging their credit cards because they can't afford anything else. It's very interesting because people are still out there doing things, but yet they're just not buying useless stuff, and the cost of inflation it doesn't make any sense. I've tried to figure it out. I've tried to make it make sense. It just doesn't make any sense. So, but that's what's going on with that. And Davis, I am glad that first of all, thank you. Love your video. Awesome, man. I'm glad that that brings you something. It means I'm doing something right. Glad you're here. But yeah, diesel exhaust fluid shortages. Yes, if you look on the East Coast, what was it? The U.S. right now only has 25 days supply of diesel. 25 days supply of diesel. Yeah, and you have to remember, we may not have like gasoline shortages, but if you don't have diesel for trucks to deliver said gasoline, you then have gasoline shortages. That's how it works. So I'm glad you brought that up. And then I'm just going to go through this list. This is not a complete list. It is not full by any means, but global conflicts that are happening. You've got the Ukraine, Russia, NATO conflict right now. You've got the issue with Serbia and Kosovo. You've got Armenia and Azerbaijan. You've got Sudan, South Sudan, and Ethiopia at each other's throats. You've got Libya about ready to break into a civil war. You've got Iran that's basically in a civil war right now. They're breaking down completely. You've got Israel, who's basically in conflict with everybody. We knew that was going to be happening. Scripture tells us that. Then you've got the China-Taiwan situation. You've got North Korea, South Korea, and Japan. They're having their own entanglement over there. You've got Turkey and Greece. Like I said, that's not an exhaustive list. There's tons of other conflicts out there, but that's just some of them. That's some of the big ones that are happening. The big one with Ukraine, though, I do want to make mention of this because this was recently hitting news quite hard. Talks of nuke and dirty bombs. Russia has thrown this out twice now, and they just put it in a UN memo about the threat of they believe that Ukraine is going to do a dirty bomb to themselves and blame Russia. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just going to be honest with you. The fact that they're pushing it so heavily is very interesting. I would say this dirty bomb threat, false flag threat type of thing here is much more inclined, I would say much more inclined to happen than, say, Russia dropping a nuke. Do I believe that Russia may drop a nuke? Possibly. I believe after the rapture, when the entire world goes on fire with a global world war, I believe nukes would be dropped. But this dirty Bob thing is interesting. Dirty Bob. Sorry, Bob, whoever you are. You're not dirty, I apologize. Dirty bomb thing is very interesting. Something that we should definitely keep an eye on. I don't know. Normally I'd give you my opinion. I don't have an opinion on this one. I'm just going to sit back and watch on this. I'm not going to claim to be an expert. I'm not going to claim to say something is actually going to happen. I'm just saying. Another aspect of this, we got to remember, this is big that people may not talk about it as much, but Mr. General Armageddon, the new general who's been vaulted up as the leader of the Ukraine situation, don't put it past him to do this dirty bomb if it was to happen. That's right along with his tactics. He is a very dirty general. He does a lot of very illegal, yes, in war there is legality on some of it. He does very illegal things in war. So don't put it past Mr. General Armageddon there to do that. And also something else to note, the US 101 the 101st Airborne has been deployed. I believe it's Romania on the Ukraine border. This is the first time that this has happened since World War II. So things are escalating. Things are escalating. And yeah, it doesn't matter who does it. It will start a world war. Exactly. I think people get a little too caught up in who is responsible for things. One of the big ones was the pipeline, Nord Stream pipeline. Yeah, a lot of it points directly to America doing it. That's just how it is if you look at the evidence. But I don't think it's going to be a thing that we ever actually get a truthful answer for, just to be honest. But as far as, it doesn't matter who does it. I think people get a little too caught up in the who rather than what's going to happen because of it as a result. So, and then just finishing off these last lists, we've got the rise of disease. We know all about the COVID stuff. There's the monkeypox stuff that's still happening. I'm watching Ebola in Uganda right now. That is not slowing down at all. And that is a disease that really does kill. So watch that. Then there's the polio stuff. People have stopped talking about what's going on with polio. That's randomly popped up again. The cholera stuff that's been happening because of all the water flooding is bringing the disease and whatnot. So the cholera stuff. And then something else that seems to be forgotten about, which I'm going to gently remind people. Those smallpox vials that were found in a Merck laboratory in Pennsylvania. Those are still in play. People have forgotten about that. Don't forget about that. You've got 5 vials of smallpox. You can wipe out a country with that. And a whole lot more. Don't forget about those smallpox vials. That was from like a year ago. Don't forget about them. I'm telling you. don't lose sight of that. And then, last but not least, the natural events. The natural events going on. You've got the deadly floodings, stuff in Pakistan, Africa, Nigeria, the Philippines. Massive damage because of the flooding. We know about the hurricanes and stuff happening that's been hitting all over. The wildfires that have that burned all of that land in Canada and the U.S. and that did a lot of damage to the food stuff, the farming, all the crazy weather stuff that's been happening everywhere. The heavy rains, the dry heat, all that stuff that's been happening, and of course the earthquakes, which we always do an update on some earthquake stuff. Recently, this past week, there was a 5.0 quake that actually hit in Seven Trees, California, which, watch that San Andreas fault line. Watch the San Andreas fault line because that could push California into the ocean, which I think, I believe that that's going to happen in the tribulation. I believe that San Andreas fault line is going to go off and it's going to submerge a lot of the United States. Just being honest, that's what I believe. Then there's a 5.2 quake in Tonga, 6.7 quake in Punta de Burca, Panama, 5.3 quake in Beto, Philippines, 6.4 quake in Dolores, Philippines, a 6.3 quake in South Sandwich Islands, and a 5.6 quake in Hihifo, Tonga. So, that is all I got. Yeah, the 5.2 quake, that was the Seven Trees. It was downgraded to a 5.0 on that one. And then we're just going to go ahead and highlight that. I just want the Lord to return now. I agree, Sally. I agree wholeheartedly. I can't tell you how ready I am to go home, to be with the Lord. And I'll tell you what, I pray that when I get up there, I can give our Lord a hug and he tells me, good job, good and faithful servant. That's what I long for. But that is it's a laundry list, but it's a very condensed list of all of the things that are happening right now. They're all converging. They're all biblical. They're all birth pains. And they're all happening right now. And remember the key for that, because if that happened in 1947, all of this stuff doesn't mean anything without Isaiah 66:8 happening. That is the key. And it happened. Israel not only became a nation, exactly how Scripture tells us, but it became a nation in a day. Exactly how Isaiah 66:8 tells us. So, we've got that took place. And now we've got all of these converging signs coming together. So if you have the chance to witness to somebody, whether it's in person or online, like this whole thing started with that, if you have all of that at your disposal and you're talking to somebody who doesn't know what is going on, hopefully that can be used to explain to them just how far along we are, just how deep we are in all of this. And remember, I'm telling you guys, if you have to scare somebody into heaven, if you have to drag them across that line, kicking and screaming, it doesn't matter as long as their soul ends up in the hands of Jesus Christ. It does not matter how you got them there. Get them to Jesus. Just do it. And stop focusing on being right on the non-salvation issue stuff. Don't skip over somebody seeking the Lord to try and be right. Don't skip over somebody trying to find Jesus to try and disprove somebody who is trying to get them to Jesus. Stop infighting. Because not only will you skip over that person who was seeking salvation, but now you're leaving a black mark or a red mark, however you want to put it, on there, that when other non-believers see your comment, why they look at it and go, why would I want to be a part of that? Why would I want to be a part of that? Don't get swallowed into that. Remember, we are here to get people to Jesus. We can't save, but he can. So we need to plant that seed. That's what we have to do. So let that be the focus, especially now when that clock is so close to striking 12. Let that be the focus. So that's all I got, guys. That's it. Oh, man. Well, I don't know about you guys, and I know Sally agrees. I'm ready to go home. Just going to throw this back up there. I'm ready to go home. I'm ready for the Lord to take us out of here. So, but while we're here, remember, we've got to focus on our mission. That's why we're here, to get people to Jesus. And we're going to continue to watch what is going on. We're going to continue to look for the Lord and his return as he tells us to do. We want to be prepared for his return. We don't want to be caught snoozing. We don't want to be caught sitting there being lazy. Nope. We want to be looking for his return. We want to be prepared. And so that's what we're going to do. So glad you guys can join me. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. All of that stuff. Make sure, if you can, you subscribe on Rumble and Odyssey. Make sure you're on my Telegram. Post good stuff on there. At least I think it's good stuff. Again, if you feel led to donate, there are links down below to help donate to this ministry if you want to. And also remember, tomorrow, noon Central, new episode of Bobblehead Adventures. New episode of Bobblehead Adventures. So, all right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and leave you here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this live stream. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the new production stuff. Hopefully it's a lot smoother, a lot cleaner. And hopefully as things get going, I'll be able to throw in some more clips and stuff as we go. So, all right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and leave you here. You guys have a good one. I will, Lord willing, I'll see you guys next Tuesday. Hopefully not. Hopefully I'll see you up in the air. All right, guys, peace out.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.